Almost a year and a half ago, I released one of my very first videos on this channel entitled Arma Reforger is about to make a huge comeback, and it was around this time that the medical update had released. Now I'm not going to sugarcoat things here. When the game first released, it was a piece of doo-doo due to the crashing and disconnects. You couldn't spend more than 10 minutes on a server before getting kicked, even if nothing was happening. So it was really difficult to get an idea of the direction Bohemia Interactive were trying to go with the game. But slowly, pieces of the puzzle started to come together. I started noticing how much smoother locomotion and aiming was over Arma 3, and how it sounded like the JSRS or Dynasound mod was baked right in. The driving felt natural and authentic. Contextual action menus were on objects themselves within the game world, and suddenly, something as simple as opening a door or getting into a vehicle wasn't retarded. But it was only experienced in batches of 10 to 15 minutes at a time. Then, when the medical update was released in July of 2023, all 400 of us who were still around got to finally experience Bohemia's vision for the game in context with everything working together, and see a glimpse into the future of the Arma series. Fast forward to today, Arma Reforger has crossed over the 1 million sales milestone with 200,000 on PlayStation 5 alone in just a few weeks. Not only that, the Steam charts have exploded as well, with average player counts approaching launch day numbers with almost 10,000 peak concurrent players. The workshop is bursting at the seams too, with over 5,000 mods covering everything from modern weapons and scenarios to new vehicles and features. And we're not even finished with the roadmap yet.
Sorry, PS5 users. Please make a loud noise on Sony's socials and let them know you demand mods.
If you haven't been paying attention to what's coming in the next update, you're going to be in for quite a shock when Building Destruction and Mortars are released, which I'll talk more about in a bit. Granted, it's taken a little time to get here. I was only off by about a year. But hey, we finally are arriving, and it's never been a better time to get into the game. Now I realize that this is the internet, and everyone's a Redditor, so I'm not allowed to like anything without being called a shill or huffing copium. These arguments just don't hold water anymore, since more and more people are experiencing the game for themselves instead of listening to all the scoffers. And I believe this momentum is only going to grow, especially since Arma 4 isn't going to be released for another 2 years until at least 2027. And the team behind Arma Reforger have hinted that more stuff will be coming even after the roadmap is complete. But that doesn't mean Arma Reforger is perfect. Far from it. The game still suffers from disconnection issues and crashes, as well as performance drops and certain types of exploits and shortcomings, such as poor hit registration and the strafe spamming that can exploit it. No one sets out to make a horrible game, unless you're Ubisoft, but that's a different conversation. And I have no doubt that the development team aren't intending on these issues being the normative experience, so I'm confident that it'll be addressed at some point. Though I do find it a bit amusing to see how many people are complaining about server queues right now, after having just spent the last 4 months demanding server queues to get added to the game, which wasn't even on the roadmap. Now with that said, let's take a look at what's still going to be delivered that I think is really going to put Arma Reforger over the top. Mortars and Building Destruction is easily one of my most anticipated features, and it's coming in the next update. Mortars are going to change how battles unfold, giving players the ability to rain hell down upon enemy positions. Pair that with the new Building Destruction mechanics, and you've got a recipe for chaos and strategic gameplay. Imagine taking out fortified positions or suppressing an enemy while your squad advances, all being manned by real players or entities within the world. This is the kind of stuff that makes Arma Reforger stand out as a tactical shooter. But here's the kicker, the destruction isn't just cosmetic. Buildings collapsing will change the battlefield dynamically, clearing sightlines, opening routes, and even injuring those unlucky enough to be inside. It's the kind of systemic depth that keeps you coming back for more, even in its early state. Oh, and for those who love modding, expect these to be the new canvases for some insane workshop creations. The addition of the LAV-25 and BRDM-2 is going to spice things up for vehicle warfare fans, also coming in the next update. These aren't just armored transports, they're rolling firepower, making taking out infantry with a well-placed burst from the 25mm cannon, or scouting enemy positions with speed and mobility the new normal, adding another layer of tactical depth. Helicopters are already a force multiplier on Everon, but the rocket pods that are coming in the next update are about to make them absolute nightmares for ground forces, especially paired with the building destruction. Y'all don't even know what's coming. Close air support is going to hit differently when you can unleash a salvo of rockets on entrenched enemies. Just make sure you've got someone on your team who knows how to fly, because I can already see the chaos of failed strafing runs, fiery crashes, and friendly fire incidents. Farther into the future is the commanding role. Now, this one might not sound flashy at first, but with everything else we've seen Bohemia do with Reforger, it's likely going to be a game changer. The new commanding role will allow players to take charge and coordinate their team's strategic movements, objectives, and resources, something that's sorely needed in the current beautiful mess that is conflict. If you've ever played a match where everyone's just running around aimlessly, you'll know how important this is. A good commander can turn the tide of battle, and I'm personally excited to see how this role evolves within the community. Forget fighting over Mononac and the military base, I think. Freeform base building is going to give players the freedom to set up defenses and infrastructure however they see fit, I think. The way this is described on the roadmap seems like a huge step forward for the sandbox elements of the game, letting creativity and strategy go hand in hand. No two matches are ever really the same in Conflict, but with this system, I imagine it'll take on a whole new dynamic, I think. Next, we have AntiPersonnel Mines coming at some point, probably with the freeform base building. Nothing screams tactical like setting up a perimeter of anti-personnel mines to protect your base or ambushing unsuspecting enemies in theirs. This is going to make players think twice before charging blindly into enemy territory. Well, what am I saying? This is Reforger community we're talking about here. It's likely going to lead to some hilarious friendly fire incidents as entire squads shift W straight into the respawn screen as they charge towards the very center of an objective. Finally, we've got the electrical grid system still on the horizon. This one is a bit of a wild card, but the introduction of an electrical grid system could pave the way for some really interesting mechanics, such as enabling or disabling spawn points or supply generation and radio comms. Imagine needing to power radar systems, lights, or even your base's defenses. It's little touches like this that show how much thought Bohemia Interactive is putting into making Arma Reforger more immersive and engaging than any other milsim on the market right now. Arma Reforger may have started off on shaky ground, but it should be clear by now that the foundation is solid and the future is bright. With all these features and improvements on the horizon, Arma Reforger is not just making a comeback, it's here to stay. At least until Arma 4, which is still 2 years away. Not bad, eh? Anyway, my hope is that Bohemia do not forsake the progress and momentum they built with Reforger and keep it as a standalone multiplayer tactical shooter. All they need is conflict with a few tweaks and refinement, more weapons and vehicles and maps, and you've got yourself a real contender to games like Squad and Hell Let Loose. Especially if they give it a Vietnam or modern/Gulf War era treatment. If you're new to the game and squatting up for the first time, you'll want to know the basics of Conflict, so watch this video next. Thanks for watching, and as always, my name is Ironbeard, and I'll see you on the battlefield.